Hello, folks. This is Joe from My Geek Scene. I'm here at Cherry Capital Comic Con with Ming Chen for a bonus DLC interview.
Oh, just when you thought you were done, you get bonus content.
You've been experiencing C4 all throughout this weekend. How's it been for you?
It's been amazing. I didn't know what to expect coming up here. I met the promoter. He invited me because I walked through a hotel bar and he saw me, asked me if I wanted to come to Traverse City, and I never say no, and two, I love adventures. So, however, since it was so far northwest in Michigan, I kind of looked. I was like, well, there's not really that much around it. Like I always see. I know the people in the city will come, the city of the con is at. But what you really have to factor in is what's around it, like how far people will travel. So that's why cons typically do well in like New York. You have like New Jersey, and people will go to New York. Chicago's, it's bordering Indiana and Michigan and Ohio. People will go to Chicago. But I was like, wow, Traverse City, will people go up there? And the answer is yes. It's been a great crowd, and it's the people always ask me, do you prefer smaller cons, larger cons? Some people are like, oh, this isn't like the big cons you go to in New York. It's like, I don't really, that's not, the size is not really a factor. It's the heart. How much heart does a con have? How well is it run? How much does the con care about the vendors and the artists and the guests? And this is literally one of the first cons I've seen where like Artist Alley takes up half the hall. That never happens. So I know they're focused on the creators first, which without the creators there is no, we don't have Avengers Endgame. We don't have Comic Cons. We don't have comics without the creators. So they're doing an amazing job here. I feel very warmly welcomed here, and immediately I felt like I joined like a family, and I know that's something that's come because they've run this con for 11 years, and you don't have a con that lasts for 11 years if you're not doing something right. So. Long story short, this con's been amazing.
Yeah, man, I saw you hanging out at the Drink and Draw and the karaoke contest, too.
Yeah, I always try to support. If there's an after-hours event at a con, which a lot of cons don't do, they kind of like, well, we shut down at 7, and you're off on your own. Most people are kind of at the con hotel, and they have to fend for themselves. But if there's an organized event, like a Drink and Draw, or karaoke, the people will come. So if you're running a con out there and you're listening to this, throw an after hours event. Get somebody fun to host it, and whether you charge minimal admission and maybe donate the money to charity, or you put those proceeds into making your con better. It's something every con should do. Is people need somewhere to gather after the con. I always tell people, they're like, "Wow, man, you go to all these cons. What was the convention like?" I was like, convention was great, but where the true heart of the con is actually after hours, like where you gather. That's where you make all your friends. That's where you meet people. That's where you socialize. Everyone's more laid back, and I think the after hours events is a very important component of the convention itself as well. So I always try to support them. I always try to go, and the Drink and Draw is phenomenal. I think almost every artist who has a booth here participated. They contributed an art piece for the charity art auction, which went to Heroes Initiative. Yes. James O'Barr did 3 amazing. That guy whipped out 3 like quality museum, quality pieces in like an hour. That's just how talented the man is, and it was pretty cool. And then if you karaoke, if I see the word karaoke, I'm jumping in with the microphone. Like that's just all there is to it. But in general, I think everyone's got an inner rock star to them, and karaoke is always a fun-filled. Fun event.
So, since this is a bonus DLC interview, I actually wanted to go over some of the questions that I had to skip out when we were initially doing one.
Yeah, let's do it.
You're a popular guy, and I didn't want to take you away from the fans.
No, I love doing this. Fire away.
So, back to the comics. Was there a comic series that you felt ended too soon?
Oh, man. That's a great question. Most series, you know what? They're back in I believe it was the late 80s, there was a 6-part miniseries, a comic called Long Shot. And it's about...
He meant the Crow, according to James O'Barr.
And of course, the Crow, of course. Of course, the Crow. The Crow, yeah, I don't want to be kissing the man's ass, but, he's right next to me. However, yes, the Crow was one of them. There was a 6-part miniseries called Long Shot, which chronicled the adventures of one of the X-Men, Long Shot, which... we're probably never going to see in any movie format, unfortunately, but a man whose superpower is just incredible luck. And it became one of my favorite superheroes. My older cousin introduced me to written by, I think, Ann Nocenti and I'm trying to remember who drew it. I'm blanking right now. But a miniseries I thought could have gone on far longer than 6 issues. Ended up popping up in a bunch of X-Men comics as well, and I think popped up recently as well. But I always wish it gone on longer though. Could have gone for way more than 6 issues, and I always hope they'll come. He'll get his own series, but it's probably not going to happen.
One of the comics that I felt ended too soon was Next Wave Agents of Hate by Warren Ellis.
Yes.
It was like, I believe, only 12 issues, but it was hilarious.
How many issues?
12.
12. Okay, yeah.
Have you ever read that?
I have not, so I'm putting that on the list.
It was basically a B-side. It was a Marvel comic book.
Yeah.
It was like B-side heroes or D-list heroes.
Yeah.
Just Warren Ellis puts them in hilarious situations.
Yeah.
And I don't really know Warren Ellis for comedy so much. I mean, he has comedic moments, especially like a Transmetropolitan and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
But it's just a fantastic comic series.
Yeah, I just came with another one. Robert Kirkman wrote a series for Marvel Max called The Destroyer.
Okay.
It's amazing about it. It's about an aging superhero who his heart's about to go, and his doctor's like, you got to stop fighting crime. You're gonna die. He's got a family. He's got grandkids, and he's just pretty much like, I can't stop. So since he knows he's dying, he's like, all right, I'm going to destroy all of my enemies so they can't kill my family after I'm gone. And so he kind of dedicates the last, I guess, 2 months of his life destroying all his arch enemies so they can't touch his family after he dies. I think it was an 8-issue miniseries. Amazing art, amazingly written. It's Robert Kirkman. He's a genius. However, and this is something I hope they turn into a movie or something. I think it's a great. No pun intended. The story's got a lot of heart into it, but it's also it's Kirkman. It's a Marvel Max, so they were able to get a little more violent, a little more graphic. It's a very simple story as well. It's not a revenge tale per se, but it's like, if we were superheroes, if we knew maybe we had maybe 2 months to live, we would dedicate it killing all our enemies so they couldn't strike back. So if I died, I wouldn't be there to protect them. But if I kill all my enemies, then I wouldn't have anything to worry about. So, but I wish that one went on a lot longer as well.
I'll have to check that out.
Yeah, it came out, I believe, I want to say 2008-ish, okay. Or maybe, somewhere around there.
So there should be a trade out there somewhere.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, there's definitely a trade. But I had to get to single issues, of course.
Yeah, see, dude, I guess people can look down on me for that, but I don't ever buy single issues. I buy trades.
If I love, if a series I really love, I get the single issue for sure.
If it's the local indie artist doing single issues, then I'm more apt to buy a single issue, but I prefer trades. It just works better on my bookshelf.
Yeah, they look cool. They look classy.
I was just going because it's easier for me to manage.
Right, and you save a little money too.
Yes. I don't know about me so far, but I've been buying a lot of trades lately. I've been going full ham. So what are you reading now? I'm reading a book by Skybound called Manifest Destiny. Don't know if you've read that one. It's about the Lewis and Clark expedition, but told from a fantasy standpoint. So as they're going westward ho, they run into giant ladybugs and killer talking birds, and sea serpents, and all kinds plant-based zombies, and all kinds of fantastical creatures, which them and their team have to fight off. And I think it's a way better retelling of the westward expansion than what we learned in the history books, which was they meet Sacagawea, she helps them, they hit the West Coast, they make it back, end of story. They go to Oregon or wherever they ended up, and we find out that there's more land over there. That's boring. That's what happened to them? Did they get into battles? We don't really know. So this is a book I think every kid taking a history class in school, public school, private school, whatever, should get and read and study. And even though it may have not have happened that way, who's to say that it didn't? We don't know. So I think kids would be way more into history if we inject a little more fun and fantasy into it. And it's a pretty amazing series, and that's one I hope they turn into a TV series. Geez, you must be psychic, because I was going to ask, are there any comic properties that you would like to see as a movie or TV series?
That's definitely one of them. Another one, and one that they just announced as a movie that Marvel's going to make, is Shang-Chi, Master of Kung Fu.
I did see that.
Yeah. That is a book that came out in the 70s. I didn't read it initially. I was introduced to it later on by Walt Flanagan, who would pick it up off the drugstore spinner racks. And he's like, wait a minute, you've never read Shang-Chi, the Master of Kung Fu? I'm like, no, and I've heard of it. He's like, dude. So there at the time they could not reprint it because Shang-Chi's arch nemesis is Fu Manchu, and Marvel did not own the rights to Fu Manchu. It was owned by the Sax Romer family, and very recently Marvel threw a bunch of money at the Sax Romer family, got the rights back, and there's a Shang-Chi Master of Kung Fu omnibus out there now.
Yeah, I've seen a few of those. It's expensive though.
It's about $100, but you get, I think the first volume was probably like 50 issues or something. Totally worth it. It was birthed from the Kung Fu craze of the 70s, but the story got way deeper than just a guy doing Kung Fu really good and kicking ass. That was maybe like the first 6 issues. But then they start sending him out on James Bond style missions, and he's constantly betting against his evil father. His sister fights alongside with him at times, and it's a great series. And thankfully, Marvel has like, whoa, this could work. It's not a property that everybody knows, which I love. I love that Marvel is bringing to the forefront titles like Guardians of the Galaxy, Black Panther, and now Shang-Chi. Which, if you went out and polled 100 people, probably about 80, 85, maybe 90% of them wouldn't have known what a Guardians of the Galaxy was before the movie. Probably wouldn't have known a Black Panther, and probably doesn't know a Shang-Chi. But from what I hear, Marvel's gonna kind of do for the Asian culture, champion it and show its beauty, kind of like Black Panther did. So I'm really looking forward to what they have to do.
Yeah, me too, actually.
Yeah.
And I will give Marvel a thumbs up because, quite frankly, when they announced Guardians of the Galaxy, the first time I was like, that team? I was like, really?
Yeah, Yondu and Martin X.
That comic, I didn't know if that was going to work, but then I was blown away.
Yeah.
I will shut my mouth and then I will...
Yeah. Peter Quill is not in the first Guardians of the Galaxy, so, they found, they were able to build around his character and introduce Rocket Raccoon, which is actually his first appearances in a Hulk comic, and kind of build this great ragtag team. And really, now the world loves the Guardians. So, yeah, it's pretty cool. Marvel's just great about taking these properties. Like, all right, let's update it a little bit, and we'll make it awesome. And that's their talent, man. That's what they're so good at.
Okay, I know that you enjoyed comics when growing up, but did you read comic strips in the newspapers?
I love the comic strips because we got the daily papers, or every day I would have a new story. So my absolute favorite of all time is Calvin and Hobbes. I had a big imagination like Calvin did, and I always wanted my stuffed animals to come to life. So, and it was written so well that I collected all of them. I would cut out the strips and put them into notebooks or mount them up on my wall. I had a whole collection of them. That was kind of like my wallpaper in my room. So The Far Side was also a great one. Of course, I read the Peanuts. I'm a big Charles Schultz fan as well. And High and Lois was also a good one. Beetle Bailey. I loved all of them, all except for like Mary Worth and Apartment 3G, the more adult comic strips. Yeah, even I would read Prince Valiant too. Those only come out on Sundays. I thought those were cool. I'm a big Family Circus fan. People think they're kind of lame, but they're for everybody. And I ended up reading those to my kids when they were growing up. It's very digestible. Kids could, it's a one panel. And I always got mad. I was like, Bill Keaton, man, this guy's making millions. All he has to do is one circular strip, but he did it well. So, and his family continues it to this day. So, I'm a big fan of the comic strips, though.
I probably own the collections of Calvin and Hobbes and The Far Side.
Yeah, they're great. And
the Boondocks, actually. I bought the 5 books for that too.
Yeah, they're great, and they're vastly rereadable, and they're brilliant. But The Far Side especially.
I would love, I think his name's Bill Ammon, to release a giant omnibus of Foxtrot.
Yeah, Bill Ammon, Kansas City native, and he was at a con, and I did not have time to go meet him. Or actually, I think I may have gone by and said hello. But yeah, brilliant guy, a big geek, and I love that. It shows. He's always throwing up. Yeah, I am Jason. That's all there is to it. Without the glasses, but with the imagination and the kind of mischievous nature of Jason. Sorry, it's early. It's an early Sunday.
We talked a little bit about it the first time I interviewed you at Astronomicon. Why is Metroid one of your favorite video games of all time?
Which one?
Metroid.
Oh man, that what they did with that game is an 8-bit game, which if you know anything about 8-bit games, you can't program a lot of stuff into it. You can't program a whole like Fortnite or Minecraft type of world in there, or Skyrim, or the stuff that kids have today. And what they were able to cram in that little plastic cartridge was a whole universe of Samus, and just the different weapons, the different enemies, it was kind of a puzzle too. Sometimes you had to figure out how to get it out of the world. Do I roll into a little ball and fit under the crevice and look for a secret passageway? And then when I completed it, and if you did the right things, it had an alternate ending where Samus takes her mask off. It's a she. You think it's a dude the whole time. It turns out to be a curly, redheaded, strong, badass female. Just all the twists and turns. It's just such a great job for, I think it came out, 85, 86, very early on. So, very creative game. That and Metal Gear were two, like, super deep games that they were able to cram in to an 8-bit cartridge, and I love it. And also, even now in 2019, instantly replayable. I could go and replay that and still feel the same thrill I did when I was, 12, 13 years old.
Okay. Were there any other games that you enjoyed?
Oh, definitely Metal Gear. Hideki, I can't remember, Kojima, I believe is.
Hideo Kojima.
I know the man truly wanted to be a filmmaker, but was able to channel his filmmaking love and talent into making one really amazing video game. And that went into the sequels. I remember when Metal Gear Solid came out for the PlayStation. I went to I believe it was Funko Land at the time. They're now all GameStops. Waited in line for it. Pre-ordered it. Got a free T-shirt. Like, it was an event when that game came out. So, yeah. And God, there's so many 8-bit games that I love. Castlevania, also a great game. RC Pro-Am, Super Dodgeball. I could go on and on. Ghosts and Goblins, Rygar.
Was that the era of video games that you liked the most, like the 8-bit?
I started with the Atari 2600. I'm an old man, so I was around when that first came out. And that was mind-blowing as an 8-year-old, or 6-year-old, actually. And I didn't have it initially. My friend down the street had it, so I would just run over to his house. My parents didn't have to worry about me because they knew I was there. I would be there for like 6 hours every day playing Atari video games. And then when the NES came out, that was mind-blowing because the graphics were so much better, the gameplay was so much better. There were like legit RPGs that came out. Final Fantasy came out, and Zelda's an RPG as well. So that was mind-blowing later on. So I was around for both of those. I fell in love with both that era, 8-bit and Atari 2600.
What about like the Super Nintendo and stuff?
I was a little older when that came out, so I played that, but at that
it didn't speak to you so much.
I think by that point, I was running out of time to devote like whole weeks to video games. So although
But you did play Metal Gear Solid though.
I did. I had the PlayStation. I played Final Fantasy VII. Was probably the last game that I devoted 80 hours to, and then after that, I just did not have the time to devote to games. Although I still try to play. I still try to keep up. I do play Fortnite because my kid got me into it, but I just don't have the time to become even somewhat skilled at it.
Did you ever play Castlevania Symphony of the Night?
Yes, I did play that one as well.
I mean, since you like Castlevania and Metroid, it's like the best one.
Good game. Great story, great cutscenes, but it's become, the games now are so involved that you really need to dedicate a lot of time to it. Like, I think my kid plays all the time. You need to dedicate that kind of time to it. And I just don't have that time anymore.
I know it's sadder. Like the older we get, the less time we have.
Yeah.
I mean, I know that's life, especially. But you're busy.
Yeah.
I'm not as busy, but still, I would love to play more video games. But running a website, I have to.
Yep. Yeah. We travel. We podcast. We shoot video content. So yeah, it's tough.
So let's go on to music.
Okay.
I know that A Tribe Called Quest is one of your favorite groups. Any particular song or album that resonates with you?
Oh man, Midnight Marauders is the Low End Theory is like one of the greatest albums of all time, though, and like almost every track on that album is great. And then People's Instinctive Travels and the Passive Rhythm that trio, that first three albums are like, those are desert island albums.
Okay.
I could survive on a desert island if I just had those three albums. Lost My Wallet and El Segundo is a great song. Electric Relaxation is an amazing song. Award Tour is, kind of like, it's constantly going through my head. That's kind of like my anthem for life. That would be my theme song, I think, if I had like a band that could travel behind me and play something. But yeah, it's pretty great. Those guys shaped, hip hop for sure, and they continue to do so, even though Phife Dawg sadly passed a little over a year ago, I believe. What those guys did for not just hip hop but music is insane. And I recently became aware. So I believe we talked about record collecting yesterday.
Yes, you wanted to have a podcast based on vinyl.
Yeah, which would be great. I know you collect vinyl as well. I don't. No, you don't. You don't collect vinyl. Okay, you should. You should.
CDs and digital albums for me.
Okay, you should collect vinyl. The artwork is amazing.
I also have a bunch of tapes.
But what I started doing when I go to a new city, I would go to whatever record shop is there, and I would try to pick out the jazz albums that Q-Tip sampled off of to make the Tribe Called Quest songs. Because there's a website out there called Who Sampled That or Who Sampled.
I've heard about that before.
I believe, and you could see and you could pinpoint which song they sampled off of and the timestamp, which I thought was brilliant. Yeah. So I was spending money buying individual albums. I ran into a DJ friend of mine, a guy by the name of DJ Foggy Notion. He was like, some guy compiled all the samples onto one album. It's not official, but you can get it out there. I'm like, what? And it's called like the Beats Called Quest or something like that.
Okay.
Or it's called Tribe Beats. And some guy made a vinyl album compiled of all the songs that they sampled. And I was like, holy crap, that's awesome. So I actually found a digital download. Somebody ripped them up. But I need the album. It's on, I think, eBay for about $50. And it came and saved me all that work. Although I'm going to go and try to buy all the jazz albums as well. So, but yeah, great. I love Tribe. I love all old school hip hop. So good stuff. All the hip hop bands of that era, Digital Planets, De La Soul, all those were highly influential. And I heard them in the '90s, but I appreciated them more now. So everybody should own a Tribe Called Quest album.
Have you read Ed Piskor's Hip Hop Family Tree comics?
I have not. That sounds amazing.
Well, this dude...
Tell me about it.
He is... yes, I will tell you about it now that my mic is on. He is a huge hip-hop fan, and what he started is he's been doing these pretty much history comics on hip-hop. He started like in the late 70s, early 80s, and like each book is, I think, covering like 1 to 2 years of the hip-hop
That's cool. So there's a book about, like Red Alert and KRS-One.
Yes.
And then that's awesome.
Like their origins and stuff like that. So right now he's 4 books in. I think he's like around like 84, 85.
That's cool. Then there's like Run DMC and they like BC Boy. That's cool.
Yes, and you definitely see like Russell Simmons and oh my goodness, Rick Rubin.
Yep.
And it's very interesting too. And like the dude clearly has a love for hip hop, and at the back of the books he has a discography of all the stuff.
That's super
so you
cool.
can look into that.
That's awesome.
Would recommend it. I think it's through Fantagraphics.
Okay, I'm in.
And they're giant size comic books, actually.
It's on the list. That's awesome.
So, best concert that you've been to, sir?
Ooh. All right. So, continuing on the hip hop train. I went to a con in LA. It used to be called Stanley's Kamikaze. They renamed it Stanley's LA Comic Con, and the year that I went, the Black Eyed Peas had just come out with a trade paperback. I cannot remember for the life of me what it was called. Maybe you remember. As such, they had a booth and they were selling their comic book at the con. Since they were there, they agreed to play the after party for the convention. So I got to see a Black Eyed Peas concert as the con after party. But during the concert, they're like, hey, we brought a couple of friends with us, and proceeded to feature Daryl McDaniel from Run DMC.
All right.
Flavor Flav was there as well, and I think Grandmaster Flash was there as well. So not only was it a Black Eyed Peas concert, turned into a Run DMC concert.
Nice.
And a Public Enemy concert.
Excellent.
And Grandmaster Flash. And so I will never see a concert that good again. That was pretty amazing. They went on for like 2 hours. So we got a whole variety of like Black Eyed Peas and old school hip hop. And it was pretty amazing. I've been to a couple Pink Floyd concerts back in the day, which were pretty amazing. At the Silver Dome, actually, in Pontiac, Michigan.
Okay.
That's where I saw that as well. I saw Eric Clapton in, like 1996, I think. That was a pretty amazing concert. I've seen the Foo Fighters. That was more recent at Citi Field, the Mets, where the Mets play. That was amazing. I saw a U2 concert a couple years ago as well. So unfortunately, I don't go to as many concerts now because they're just too darn expensive.
I would agree, dude. I would agree.
Yeah, I remember I saw Clapton for, I think, $25. And then, but these concerts now, minimum, just get in the door, it's like $100 now. It's ridiculous.
I would agree that concerts are so expensive.
Yeah.
Like recent times, I saw last year the Smashing Pumpkins when they did their like 3/4 reunion tours, I like to call it. And the seat that I was looking into was like a nosebleed seat.
Yeah.
It started like in the 40s, but by the time Ticketmaster got done with all that stuff, it was like $67, and I think that was the most I've ever paid for a concert. However, I will say this: that concert was well worth the money because they did a 3-hour show, 30 songs, all of them old, and a few covers thrown in.
That's awesome.
And like, other than that, when I look at bands that I really enjoy and I see their ticket prices are like 50 and above, I'm like, I'll pick and choose.
Yeah,
dude.
67. That's like $2 per song. Well worth it. Totally worth it.
But like, I love A Perfect Circle, but they came to Grand Rapids last year, and like at the place that they were performing at, it was like $65 for like general admission. I'm like, I'm good, dude. You like at the time you only had
to stand? No, absolutely not. I want a chair for that.
You have 2 albums and 1 EP, dude. I'm pretty good.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
I'll pass on that.
Exactly. So, you pick and choose, but I do miss the days of the top shelf tickets were like $40.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, like when I saw AC/DC open up their world tour in Grand Rapids well over a decade ago, it was like $45 for good seats.
$45 for great seats. So
I think the other ones were probably like 70.
Yeah.
But then that was like AC/DC opening up their world tour.
Yeah.
Like in Grand Rapids.
Right.
It's just I can't justify paying that much for maybe a 2 to 3 hour show and possibly a terrible opener.
Yeah.
That sucks the life out of me.
Oh yeah, exactly. So.
And speaking of terrible, what are some of the worst concerts you've been to?
I'm trying to remember if we picked pretty carefully, so I don't know if I've ever been to anything that was like, oh man, that was really bad. No, they've all been pretty. I mean, I got dragged to a Jimmy Buffett concert once.
Okay.
My girlfriend won tickets, and I'm not a parrot head. And it was an outdoor venue, kind of like I guess like a Pine Knob. I don't even, or I don't know what the outdoor venue, like the summer stages they have in the summer. And I got there and everyone was wasted already on Margaritaville. So I wouldn't say that's the worst concert. I just didn't really want to be there. And so I'm not the biggest Jimmy Buffett fan. And I see there's a guy cosplaying as Buckethead, which is cool. So I did see Guns N' Roses with Buckethead. So so it wasn't Slash. So that was a good concert though. It's a good Guns N' Roses concert, but it wasn't truly Guns N' Roses. It was Axl Rose and Buckethead. And Izzy was there, and Matt, it was the rest of them. But I wanted Slash, so why that wouldn't be the worst concert per se. I would have preferred the whole lineup.
Oddly enough, speaking of Slash's Snake Pit was the band that opened up for AC/DC in their world tour.
Okay.
So I mean, I wasn't into them, but it was pretty cool.
Yeah, I like Slash. He's into geek stuff. He loves sci-fi. He has his own pinball game. So yeah, Slash is a cool guy in my book.
What would be a dream concert for you?
Like Living or Dead.
Yeah, of all time.
Led Zeppelin
anyone.
Definitely would be up there. Jimi Hendrix, like all the people who died when they were 27. I never saw Nirvana live. Janis Joplin, The Doors. Yeah, like basically every band that had a front person or lead singer that died at the age of 27 that I never got to see. That would be all of them. But if I had to pick one, I'd love to go to Led Zeppelin concert. The Beatles. Although they didn't die at 27, but I think Zeppelin would be at the top. Then probably the Beatles, and then the Doors probably. Those would probably be the top 3.
Nice. I would go bands that are still alive.
Notorious B.I.G.
All right.
Yeah, would definitely be there as well.
What about Tupac for you since you're 90s hip hop?
I'm more of a I'm a fan, but he's no Biggie Smalls though.
That's fair.
Yeah.
That's fair. I can't say that I'm heavily invested in the hip-hop scene. I definitely have respect for it.
Sure.
But not heavily invested in it. But when I do hear stuff, I'm like, okay, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that guy had flow, man. Yeah, that's unmatched by anybody before, during, or since.
I mean, I don't know. I guess my brain is just not wired that way
Sure.
to pick up on like the intricacies of the lyrical flow and stuff
Yeah.
like that when they throw in little
Oh man,
certain
yeah.
words.
Yeah,
that
he was
have-
the master, man. He was the master.
I just can never do it. I mean, I actually, on the way up for another interview that I'm prepping for, I listened to Logic's The Incredible True Story
Yeah.
album. And I was like, okay, I can at least understand what he's saying. And it's
Right.
like, I get the meaning of the song.
Yeah.
But like for the deeper stuff,
Sure.
I'm just like, I would have to do repeated listening.
Right. Yeah, yeah,
Because
yeah.
I'm a huge metalhead, so I can pick
Yep.
up stuff a lot easier that way.
Yeah, exactly. I hear you.
But-
Cool.
So as we're wrapping this up, where can people find you online?
You can just Google my name, but on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, I'm at Ming Chen 37, MINGCHEN 37. Our website for our podcast studio is at ashareduniverse.com. And check out Comic Book Men. All 7 seasons are on Amazon Prime Video right now.
All right. And final question again, what would you like to say to your fans throughout the years?
I would love to say thank you for all your support. Thank you for being a geek. Thank you for if you've come to a Comic-Con to hang out, if you've come to the store to hang out, if I'm coming to your town and you're thinking about coming out, that would thank you very much. You guys are amazing.
Well, Ming, thank you so much for this interview. I really appreciate it.
Of course.
Folks, this is Joe from My Geek Scene with Ming Chen at the Cherry Capital Comic Con for this bonus DLC interview. Take it easy.